Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Growing Up with Godzilla. My name is Donny Winter, and this is my show where I have conversations with Godzilla fans about how they've grown with the character and franchise over time. I have been really enjoying season 2 of the show thus far because I've been having such great conversations with some phenomenal human beings. And this episode marks the continuation and conclusion of my wonderful conversation with the iconic Cuypers of the YouTube channel GojiFan93, which I know sounds familiar to all of you, because that YouTube channel has been such a central staple in the Godzilla fandom for the past decade. And if you did not know, the YouTube channel has made a comeback, and you should definitely go check it out and go give Chris your support. I have a link down in the description section below. In the meantime, enjoy the remainder of our conversation. You were talking about like your wife being very supportive, like my fiance also like has demonstrated that level of support to you because like I get like very hyper fixated on like either writing or YouTube or anything like that. So like it's nice to be able to have somebody to be like, okay, Donny, like Donny, let's have a little reality check here, you know?
Reel it in.
Right. But then like them also being able to like recognize like how enriching it is for us to be able to enjoy and do what we do. Like I think that's really it's really empowering, you know?
Yeah.
So now, okay, let's talk a little bit more about like Godzilla and some of your favorite
The
things.
big
Because
man
like
himself, yes.
yeah, I'm just interested in dissecting what your favorite things are and why. So over the years, which Godzilla films have remained your favorite and why?
Oh man, I mean that's easy. 84 is my number one favorite. Everyone knows this. There's just something about Godzilla being either the villain or the anti-hero that is just my favorite. That's why, you know, I get a lot of flack for it a lot of time, and I know with shout out to Godzilla fan freaks, we get into funny like arguments, banter about it, but I have a little bit of not so much of a like towards the Showa era because you know it's full of cheesiness, and Godzilla's not really how I view him as. You know, the only film really in that whole era is the first one that I'm like, that's awesome, you know. And the more I watch 54, the more I appreciate it every time. Like there's something new that I get out of it every time I watch that film. But the Heisei series to me is like probably the most consistent out of the whole franchise, and especially how Godzilla's character is. And I really noticed this when the Monsterverse was coming out, or like at least when King of the Monsters came out and then Godzilla versus Kong. And I made a video on it because it was just so on my mind, where I was like, Godzilla's not the same in every one of those films. Like he doesn't have an identity in those films. Like Gareth Edwards had a vision and of like what Godzilla was supposed to be, and then the other two films just sort of wishy-wash, like, well, now he's this hero, well, now he's this kind of other anti-hero kind of thing. There just wasn't consistency. So I like Godzilla when there is that consistent like aspect of the character, and that's what the Heisei just fuels that for me. Like I just love it so much. And also I am biased because I grew up during that era, and but I don't know, there's just so much like iconic imagery of the Heisei era that even Toho still uses nowadays. I mean, the Toho building, one of the sides is literally the Heisei. It's a Heisei painting of him. It's like, you know, and then they had the statue that recently was taken down and replaced with the Shin Godzilla design. But for the longest time, that was the Heisei Godzilla. There was like a gold statue in front of Toho Studios. So like, you know, the Heisei stuff is just so, I just can't get enough of it. And I've been doing this series where I've done these kaiju edits where I've cut out like all the human bits and it's just been the monster stuff. And when I was getting into the Heisei stuff, I was loving it. I was like, yes, give me this. I love it, you know. And I do understand that some of the fans have issues with the Heisei stuff because some of it's mainly the Beam War era is what a lot of people like to call it, you know, because it's a lot of standing around and just shooting beams and all that. But at the same time, I think because what was his name? Shinji Higuchi, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, he was big into special effects. I mean, that was like his forte. So it makes sense that the films were more like that instead of more physical, like brawler kind of combat, you know. In 2014, I've grown to really appreciate over the year, well, at least over like the last few months, especially after doing my kaiju discussion video, because I just see what Gareth Edwards was doing, and I kind of wish he would have stayed for the rest of the films, after really understanding what he was trying to do with the character. But I still get entertainment out of the other two, out of the MonsterVerse films. But there are parts of it that I'm just like, it's not. It started so serious and grounded, and now, especially with the new Empire that's coming out,
Yeah,
it's like where are we going? We're going into Showa territory, aren't we? Like we are.
you know, I adore Mike Doherty, but if Gareth directed King of the Monsters, I probably would have gotten more Mothra than I got.
Yeah,
And
that's
you know,
right.
don't get me wrong. Okay, so don't get me wrong. I will try not to make this a dissertation. I love Godzilla King of the Monsters, but I needed Mothra to be more than just a waterfall, more than just a blur, more than
Yep.
like, ooh. Okay, anyway. End soliloquy. So, no, like that's super interesting. Like going back to the Heisei era, like the Heisei era is, I love that era so much. Like that, like I did grow up more so in the Showa era, but like as I became like a teenager, like I really was obsessed with the Heisei era. I wanted
Yeah.
to be Miki Sagusa, honestly, or at least her bestie, one of the two.
Right.
But like the stories were so thought-provoking, and I think for the
Right.
first time in a long time, like Godzilla was very much humanized in a certain way that like really made him connect with the audience a little bit more. And I was just talking about this in my last episode with Stream of Awareness. Like we were talking about like the humanizing of kaiju, and I think those films like really added in an air of seriousness to all of the kaiju's personalities, right?
Yeah.
And definitely became a little bit more entrenched in the actual science fiction part of
Oh yeah.
Godzilla as well.
It was a
And the
lot of like
consistency.
biology of Godzilla in that era. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we got like episodic consistency. Like we got to see recurring characters. We got to see like them harken back to prior films. I had seen Godzilla versus Space Godzilla before I saw Godzilla versus Mothra. So when I saw like the like stock footage scenes where they're like referencing back, I was just like,
You're like, whoa.
like my teen, like I was peeing my pants. I was just like, this is Batra. Okay, like why? Like
Yep.
I need this film. Where is it? Okay, so like Godzilla 2014 is a film that you've kind of changed your mind about. Is there another one? Any other one that you like? That maybe was like bumped from your top favorites or that added to your top favorites?
You know, a while ago, it was a few years ago, when I first saw Terror Mechagodzilla back as a kid, because obviously it was with VHS tapes, and so it was the American version that we got, and I didn't like it. I was not into it. I thought that Mechagodzilla didn't have a lot of screen time. Titanosaurus took over most of the screen time, and I don't really care for that character, especially his roar. I just can't handle it. It's just
kind of annoying.
It's ear grating. So I'm sorry, Titanosaurus fans. I know that there are a lot of you out there, but I don't know. I just couldn't really take him. I love the Godzilla in that one though. Like Godzilla in there was like the meanest that he has been in a long time. Like I think it's also just his face. Like he just looks mad. Like he's like so done with Mechagodzilla at this point. He's like, you're back. All right, that's it. Like,
Right.
But it was a few years later when I managed to find the Japanese version of Terror Mechagodzilla, and it changed everything. It like the way the characters talked, hearing the actual actors play their roles, and Katsura herself was like changed so much to way more of a mature and serious, darker film than what the American version was. And the biggest thing was it, like the English version, Katsura, like in the ending part where she's about to die, it's where the guy comes in and like he shoots her, and then that's how she dies. Like the guy just comes in, tries to save his friend, she shoots her, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I'm dead." And then Mechagodzilla ends up losing control. But in the original intended story, Katsura actually gets wounded, but then she's like, "No, I understand what I've done. We got to stop this. I'm going to sacrifice myself." And I know I love, like, because she loved the main character. She's like, I know I love you, but I got to sacrifice myself because it's going to save the world, because we got to destroy Mechagodzilla and all that. And she kills herself. And it's like this giant sacrifice that made such an impact on her. And then when her father gets killed, it's more, you feel more sympathetic towards him in this one. He's not just this stereotypical, evil mad scientist guy. Like, no, he was forced to do this by the alien dudes, and like, it's such a tragic story. But in the English version, you just don't get that at all. So yeah, Terror Mechagodzilla got bumped up when I saw the Japanese. I was like, oh wow, okay, this is a great film to end the Showa series on, like perfection.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I think it was a couple of years ago I watched the Japanese version of that film for the first time, not having any knowledge of like what would happen. I sobbed at the end. I was just like, oh my God, like, why did they butcher this film? like this ending is so, it's tragic but poignant, and like,
yes, it is.
Like, it completely changes everything. So no, like, that's an excellent one. For me, the one that's kind of, I won't say it's in my top favorites, but it's one that I've strongly appreciated, is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. I used to, oh my God, I used to detest that film so much, but now, like, it's fun. Like, it's fun to watch the film. And I love, like, what's the main character's name? Kariko Sujimori.
Oh goodness, I'm not good with
her.
the
I think that's her name. Don't eviscerate me, anybody, if I forgot the name.
But like, correct me in the comments politely.
Yeah, like, correct me politely. I'm delicate, everyone. But no, like, absolutely, like, I strongly appreciated the characters, I think, you know. So speaking of characters, like, what are your favorite, like, characters? And this includes, like, the kaiju as well.
Yeah, no, it's actually funny you mentioned Mechagodzilla, because I would actually say that even though I love the Heisei series, I do think the Millennium series, this is going to be a hot take, I think they had the best cast of characters in almost every one of the films in the Millennium series.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
There was some serious character development and character focus moments in those Millennium films through Godzilla 2000 all the way to, Final Wars, I'll even say it. Final Wars is awesome, people. I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill.
We'll die on the hill fighting together, because I do love that film. I used to be a hater, but now I'm like, it's fun. I'm like,
maybe
my microphone.
Maybe less of the character development in that, but the characters are still just great in that one. But I would say, Mechagodzilla, what you were talking about is the amount of, like, all the issue with Hollywood right now with, like, this whole, like, well, women aren't portrayed as heroes anymore. We got to, like, push this agenda to make the female protagonist be awesome and stuff. I'm like, Toho back in the early 2000s was doing this so well back then with a female protagonist that doesn't necessarily feel forced or to have this, like, agenda. Like, no, it's literally just a good written character. Just so happens that she's a female. Like, the main character, Mechagodzilla, the pilot, she, like, fantastic backstory, how she has this aggression towards Godzilla, how she, like, because this was the one where she had the rocket launcher. They were running around the buildings trying to kill Godzilla with that, and then Godzilla killed her, like, officer or whatever, and so she had that vendetta against Godzilla. And then slowly through the film, she starts to learn to, like, appreciate life more, and she became less of, like, this cold person because of the daughter of the main scientist. Again, I don't know any of the names, so I'm just, like, describing them all, but
I only remember her name.
Right, yeah. And,
at least I think that's her name.
And then, of course, I've always had a celebrity crush with the female protagonist of GMK. She's just like
Yuri Tachibana. And she was a journalist too. Like, okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna go on another tangent for a second. Like, I am kind of exhausted of, like, the main characters in Godzilla films being, like, military personnel all the time, which is fine.
God,
like they're great. Some of them are super interesting, like Akane from, like, the Kiryu saga. Love her. But, like, to see, like, a journalist who, like, is a well-developed character, like, be, like, this iconic, like,
go-getter,
bringing the news to, like, the populace of Godzilla's attack, even though she works for like this small little like sci-fi channel that, you know, nobody really cares about. Like,
Right.
so cool. Like, I loved that about her. Anyway, and soliloquy
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, she was one of the best characters in that. And yeah, talking about the Kiryu duology, those are some of the finest storytelling in Godzilla films. Now, I'm not a huge fan of SOS. I do think SOS is a little bit slower paced than Against Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
But when you put them together as a big epic, it's like these are fantastic stories in Godzilla history. Like it is just like everything about those films, and especially, you know, rounding it back to older Toho films. Like they had stock footage from Mothra was a part of that history, and then I think Varen was also part of the history.
War of
War
the
of the Gargantuas
Gargantuas, I think,
was part of
too.
the history. Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
like, you know, they brought it back to some old Toho stuff, and then of course, you know, you bring the bones of the original Godzilla to be Kiryu, and it's like this was, to be honest, if the Millennium series ended with SOS, it really wouldn't have been that bad. It would have been like, you know what, that was a pretty good
Right.
way to round out the series, you know. And then you know, Final Wars, okay, maybe not in terms of character development because they didn't have time to do that, but man, the what's his name? X, the bad guy.
Oh,
He
he was
is
one of my teenage crushes. I'm just saying.
he is the best villain in Godzilla history when it comes to human villains. Like, he is the best human villain in Godzilla, bar at all.
1,000%.
That guy,
1,000%.
both English and Japanese version, just phenomenal. I can't get enough of him.
Yeah, the actor wasn't messing around, and the voice actor was not messing around
Yeah,
whatsoever.
both on point, and yeah. Oh,
So, like, the interesting. Okay, so I'm liking the trajectory here. So I think that the one thing that I love about both the Heisei era and the Kiryu duology is that they both do a lot of world building, kind of like what you were mentioning,
yes.
right? Like, we get
Mhm.
like mentions to, like, you know, prior films. We get to see legacy characters return, right?
Yeah.
And we get to see them be developed too, which is wild to me. Whereas, like, all of the other Godzilla films, especially in the Millennium era, they're kind of like one-off. Like, I think GMK did a little bit of world building with, like, its
It was a
references
tad.
to.
Yeah, it was definitely a solo film.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that, like, that world building is so significant, and I'm sure I'm gonna have people annihilate me for saying this, which is fine. But, like, after, like, maybe Destroy All Monsters, we don't really get a lot of, like, world building in the Godzilla franchise, you
None
know,
at all.
until the 80s, right? So I think that they realized, like, that in the 80s, like, okay, like, well, we want to create, like, this expanded universe, you know, and try to, like, develop these characters a little bit more. So, like, I think that's why I gravitate toward those as
Yeah.
well, because of that world building. And it's probably why I went on to write fan fiction and, you
Yeah.
know, obsess over those types of things. So, did you ever write fan fiction?
Well, Kenshin Studios is all about that fan fiction. We
I
did
was
the
that
Kenshin
was my
trilogy.
convenient segue into talking about that. So,
Yeah, I mean, Wrath of the Hybrid is probably our biggest fanfic out there. So yeah.
that is so cool. So,
So,
like, okay, so talk a little bit about how that all came into development, because
oh,
again,
good
that's
lord.
like that's another part of, like, that the creative outlets that we were talking about,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, in fact, we're actually currently in the in the process of making a documentary on the last 10 years of Kenshin, because it next month will be the 10-year anniversary of Kenshin Studios. So it's just like a lot of 10-year anniversaries are
Oh,
happening.
2013 was a good year.
Yeah, it is, and so we're doing a big thing about that. And yeah, Wrath of the Hybrid was just like a culmination of I mean, I'm trying to figure out how I can do this in a nutshell, because I could go on for hours about it. After we did the first two fan films, you know, Nico and I were very passionate about making this third one and ending it with a bang. And we were like, you know, this thing has to be super awesome. Like, it just has to be the best. And mostly with it was a lot of inspiration of Heisei infused like tones and themes. We wanted it to be somewhat of a serious tone film, but we did have a little bit of some Showa cheesiness in it here and there. And Godzilla, for the most part, was a I would say hero in that one too. So it was kind of a, I mean, yeah, if someone were to ask me, if you were to direct a Godzilla film, what would you do? That would be my answer. Like, we did it. It was Wrath of the Hybrid. Like, that would be my thing. Now, I will say, though, Kenshin Studios has announced that we are working on another big fan fiction movie with Godzilla. So if you were to ask me in maybe the next couple of years, if I were to make another Godzilla film, how would I want it to be done? This one might be the answer, but I can't say much on it because Sean and Nico will kill me if I explore more on it. So,
Understandable.
Let's just say that it is something that we have finished our like outline of the story, and it is something that we feel is gonna be like our best work, and it's something that is gonna be very different for a fan film. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be big.
That's really exciting. That is really
a lot of heart is in this one. Yeah. Good. If you like your deep metaphors, your deep symbolism in Godzilla films, this is gonna be the one.
Literally me. Like, I'm gonna eat that up. I'm gonna eat it up. So I'm gonna do it. So this is an interesting question. Because I feel like we both probably could connect in a variety of different ways, and we've kind of hinted toward it too. But how has Godzilla shaped you into the person that you are right now?
Oh, I feel what he's done, and it's funny saying he because it's a fictional character, but like what he has done. I think it's just the determination and just not stopping. Like, I consider myself a very what's the word? It's a persistent person. I do have down times, and I do have points where I give up or I quit or I stop, but I come back. And I feel like for me, watching Godzilla, that's always been his thing. He's always gone into battles and then he gets his butt kicked at first. Like, he's always like, sometimes he doesn't know what he's going up against or whatever. And then he gets his butt kicked and he takes a little bit of a power nap, but then he comes right back stronger than what he was before. And then he's able to take over. He's able to, conquer the whatever conflict it is. And so I feel like that's always been something that was ingrained to me as a kid, that no matter how hard something is, you'll get knocked down, you will fail. But the biggest thing is to get back up and to keep on going. Don't stay down, get back up no matter how much it hurts, and just keep on going forward. And that's one of the biggest things that I've learned in the last 10 years of doing this stuff. And I'll continue to do so. I will continue to have failures. I know that is the thing that every artist and every creative person needs to understand is you will fail 100%. And it's going to happen multiple times. Even when you feel like you're in a successful phase of your life, you're still going to have failures. But the important thing is you get back up and you keep on moving forward. That's been the biggest thing. So Godzilla for me is sort of that embodiment of like, yeah, Godzilla gets the crap beat out of him sometimes, but he doesn't stop. He'll get right back up and he'll throw it right back and then he'll win. So, and I think it's also just been the creativity inspiring me to make things. I mean, it's just like, I see what Toho has done, and I've seen the directors and the special effect artists and even the people. I appreciate the people who make the buildings, that get destroyed in a second. I mean, like, the artistry and the craftsmanship and the storytelling and everything, the music. Oh my God, Akira Fukube, and like, all of these elements that go into making something is just so addicting that I want to do that. I want to be a part of that. So Godzilla has not only helped me in terms of the whole like getting back up when you've gotten hit down in terms of like a metaphorical way, but also in a physical way of me as a creator, just like seeing what Toho has done and seeing that you can do it. Like, I mean, yeah, it's hard, but you like follow your dreams, as cheesy as it is, but it's still true. It's like, do what you want to do,
Absolutely.
like, you know, and
Well, those failures don't have to be permanent, like, blocks,
no,
right? Like, it's what we
yeah,
do with that failure that really matters, right? I mean,
of course.
it sucks, it's not gonna feel
It's
great, it's gonna be
That's the thing. It
challenging.
hurts. Yeah, it hurts when it happens. Yeah, but you have to,
Mhm.
like, again, people can look at me as a great example of failures, many, many failures, many, many tried attempts of things that just didn't work. But like, now look at me though. Like, I kept on going. I kept on pushing. Yeah, I had to push through a lot of crap. A lot.
Yeah.
But, and I know that, Donnie, I know you can attest to it too. When you finally can get past that and you see the light at the end of the tunnel and you see that next thing, it's like a whole new appreciation of life. You're like, okay, I'm good again. I'm good. I get back up, dust off. Here we go. You know, and then you do it, and then be ready for the next failure. And then when that hits you down, get right back up and remember where you came from. Like, well, I got past that, so I can survive this. If I can survive that,
Yeah.
I can survive this, and I can survive whatever's coming next. So it's like, you know, it's
Yeah,
yeah, that's what
absolutely.
that's what I'd say Godzilla's taught me is the
That's
resilience.
well, and like, Godzilla can survive all those things too, so why can't I, right? Like,
Right.
that was for me, like, when I was a kid, like, being bullied all the time, like, that kinda became, like, my mantra, like, just being able to, like, get up and go to school every day because it
Yeah.
was shitty, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest. So, like, but being able to kind of, like, remind myself that, like, that's kind of, like, where that sense of belonging that we were talking about before came into play because, like, when I didn't feel like I had that, Godzilla provided that, right?
Yeah.
So, like, your explanation of that, like, again, like, you really resonates with me, so
And community, building a community. That's been a big thing too.
yeah.
Without Godzilla, I wouldn't be talking to you. I wouldn't be friends with many, many people that are now my second family. I mean, like G Fest, you know, G
Same.
Fest is literally my second family. I hate that I couldn't go this year, but next year I'm coming. Next year.
Me too. I couldn't go
So
this year either.
yeah, so it's my second family. Like, I legit get sad when I can't go. Like, I'm like, and it's not for the figures, it's not for the extra little bells and whistles. It's to see my friends, it's to see my
Yeah,
second family, my Godzilla family. That's, you know, that's what I look forward to.
same here. But we love the figures. We love the
Well,
figures, right?
of
A
course,
little
that
bit.
is a
Okay,
part.
so that was my horrible segue into
That's not
talking
actually,
about
that wasn't a bad
collecting.
segue.
It was my
Pretty
very
good.
obvious segue. So okay, so like, let's talk a little bit about your collecting journey. Like, where did it begin, and where is it now, and what are your favorite things that you were like most proud of having?
Yeah, so with figure collecting, obviously you guys know it's a big thing for me. I'm passionate about it, not in the way that a lot of people would think. I'm passionate about it more of the mental thing about it now instead of more of the physical aspect of it. But you know, a quick thing, like, yeah, I started out Treadmasters, Bandai Creation figures back in the day, and then it just sort of grew from there. The internet was a thing. Like, I remember Clawmark Toys and Chibi Godzilla Toys was like the websites that I would always look at just to be curious about, you know, what's going on. eBay obviously was it's always a thing, even though it's outrageous prices sometimes.
Mm.
But it was, and then, you know, a couple Christmases, my mom and dad would buy me a few things. Funny story, real quick. They one time they ordered a few figures. They had some Bandai 6-inch figures, and then they ordered some Gasapon high grade figures. The high grade figures didn't come in time for Christmas. So what they did was they had a little note, a little letter from Santa Claus that said, "Hey, I'm coming later with a few more figures. I just couldn't get it in time." And so I was like, "Yeah." So that was really that was a cool
That
thing
is
that
the most
they did.
wholesome thing I think I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's a Godzilla thing, so you understand why Godzilla is just such a big thing. But and then yeah, when I started Goji Fan, that obviously was the big, like, uh now we're really getting into some hardcore collecting here. And you know, it was, at first it was innocent. At first it was definitely something where I was like, oh, I'm just gonna finish out my Bandai Creation figures, and you know, it'd be great. But then the world of X Plus came into my life
Mm.
and changed everything. And it for better or for worse, it made me appreciate just the collecting experience and the other subset communities that go around with that whole thing. And and also the thrill of the hunt was another big fun thing for it. And the first X Plus I got was the 1984 30 centimeter guy, original Japanese release, and I still have him. He's still on my shelf. And it was funny because I look back at that video, and in the video, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be collecting a lot of these guys because they are kind of expensive and blah, blah, blah. And I look back and I'm like, you're funny. You're going to buy a lot. But yeah, it took over my collection. I mean, it was mainly X Plus from then on. But then the problem came where, and I don't want to get down like on it because I've talked about it many times, and I actually made a video talking with Matt from Monstrosities about the dangers of collecting. So I highly recommend watching that. That's where I go really in depth about sort of the dangers of it. But I want to keep it still lighthearted here. It got addicting really bad to the point where it was starting to hurt like my bank account, and it was also starting to hurt my personal life, and a lot of things started to spiral down to where I had to make a decision to be like, I gotta kind of stop, and I gotta like sell some things and whatnot. And throughout the experience of collecting and the highs and lows of it, it's made me appreciate to be not so much of a materialistic person. And this is not just for figures, it's for everything. I'm way more picky with what I buy in terms of whatever. Like, I look at myself, do I really need that? I don't think so. I can live without that. Do I need that? No, maybe not. So, for me, like, there's not that much stuff that I'm like hoarding as much, and the things that I do buy are stuff that is very important to me. So it needs to have a connection. It needs to have some type of importance or like relevance to like what I'm wanting to do. So, my collection back in the day used to be just shelves of just plastic. And I couldn't even sometimes tell you what that thing that I bought was because I just bought it because it had Godzilla's name on it. But nowadays, I can tell you each and every individual thing I have in my collection, and I have a story behind it at the same time. And to me, that's what makes the collection so much more personal and like relevant. Like, and it's not, and I don't want to come off as like, if you're someone who has a giant collection, you're doing it wrong or whatever. I'm not here to tell anyone how to do anything with their money or how to tell you to do anything with how you want to do. I'm just saying that if it becomes a problem, like if it becomes something where it's like, you're not getting the satisfaction or people are starting to become concerned about your behavior with how much you're spending, that's where you should probably look at the mirror and be like, maybe I should change a few things. But for me, it's like I've modeled my collection now after 84. I want to kind of strictly get stuff that is related to 84 because that's the movie that is the most important to me. And it's easy because there was no other monsters in the film, so I don't have to worry about other characters. It's just Godzilla. And also 84 doesn't really have a ton of stuff with it. If it was like, if it was Destroya, I'd be in big trouble because not only do you have to deal with burning Godzilla figures, there's a tremendous amount of them, but then you have to worry about Destroya, you have to worry about the crab forms and the flying forms and then the Super X and like all that stuff. It's oh good lord. And then Godzilla Jr. So it's like a lot of characters you got to focus on. But luckily 84 is so simple enough to where it's easy to manage. And it was funny because when I relaunched the channel a few months ago before that launching, I think it was last November, Bandai came out with the Movie Monster Series 1984 figure. And it was like, oh, I want that so good. Like, because I sold back in the day, I sold the memorial box guy, which is like, he's like worth a lot of money and he's very rare. And I regret selling him. But this was cool because this was like my way of getting that mold back. And in fact, I actually kind of like the movie monster guy more than I do the memorial box one because the color just looks nicer. I don't know. There's something about the color and the detail on him that just looks better. So I'm good with that. And I have a story behind that too. So it's, that's what's cool. And then obviously I have my original X Plus, and then I have the Yuji Sakai 84 X Plus, which was like my last X Plus figure I got in 2019, I think it was. And so that was just a cool thing to have. And so I came back on the channel, did the Movie Monster 84 unboxing, and I was like, hey, this is cool. Now, don't expect a lot of unboxing videos because, I'm very restrictive of what I buy and everything. Literally a couple days, weeks go by. Godzilla Fan Freaks Everett gets this what was it called? The Mondo 84 figure that just came out. And I'm like, Everett, you son of, all right. Well, so I bought him, do another unboxing video, and then I realized, oh, NECA, I don't want the original NECA one because I didn't like that one. Oh, wait, they made a reissue? Wait, they changed a few things? Hold on, let me see this.
What?
He does look a little better. Oh, crap. All right, go to eBay because obviously he's out of print. They don't sell him anymore. So, go to eBay, buy him there. So you can see when I come back, in my video log, you'll see a bunch of unboxing videos right away. And I'm just going that's not the image I'm trying to put out. Trust me, guys, I'm not buying a bunch of figures anymore. It's just all of a sudden, 84 was just the thing for Toho and merchandise. Yeah. I was like, what's going on? And they even had a shirt, Cavi Colors, came out with a huge slew of t-shirts that was 84 themed. And I was like, come on, give me a break.
How do you say no? How do you say no to that? So it's funny that you mentioned eBay because, okay, so a little segue into talking about video games. Cause I went through during the pandemic, this stint where I was I need to collect Godzilla video games. Damn it. I need that. Well, I still have my Xbox and I was Godzilla Save the Earth was my favorite for obvious reasons. Cause Mothra's finally a playable character.
Yep.
And, I had my original one that I had, but I wore it out.
No.
So I got on eBay to buy a new one, and I am ashamed with how much I spent on it. But I did it. It was my little pandemic. I need to get myself through the pandemic with Godzilla.
Yeah, you just need it. Yeah.
And now that I'm older, I can take better care of game discs and stuff like that. It's okay. So I would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the gaming component of things, right?
Oh goodness, that's yeah.
Which game is your favorite again, and why?
Destroy Monsters Melee, hands down.
Oh, what makes that one your favorite?
So I've gone into a lot of arguments about it over the years, and I know that Save the Earth has more fans because it has more monsters and because it has more arenas and stuff like that. And there's a lot of fans that love Unleashed. Unleashed is their favorite because they grew up with it. But for me, Destroy Monsters Melee is my favorite one because I have a story with it as well. I was super little trying to save up for it. $50 at the time when games were like that. Remember when games were $50? Wow.
Same.
Going to EB Games when GameStop was called EB Games and saving up money to buy it and coming home and playing it, and was really fun. But the thing is the game, the Xbox version in particular, looks the best out of the whole Atari Pipeworks trilogy. I don't know why. It's just something about that game looks better, and Save the Earth sort of had a downgrade with its textures and and the quality, and also just the presentation. For some reason, Destroy Monsters was just this you hit start, Godzilla roars, it explodes, and then you have the main menu and the music starts kicking in. It's this bombastic.
Oh, the music was amazing.
Fires in the background. The character selection screen was awesome. And the announcer, I can't get enough of the announcer. Godzilla 2000. It's just so awesome. And then you go, and I know Save the Earth is your favorite, but Save the Earth, then all of a sudden Save the Earth comes out, and it's more of this down kind of lower, slower type of game,
right?
And the main menu is cool. I like how it's an interactive menu, but the music is a lot more muted and downtoned, and the announcer sounds like he's kind of drunk or on something. He's not really there. Mothra, something is over there.
It's so okay. So I actually super agree with you on. I mean, it's still not my favorite, but Godzilla Save the Earth is still my favorite for the one reason. But if I were to pick a second reason, I think I like the story as well. The queen of the Vortok. She was this iconic, I was just woo. But no, I just the stories that we have with those games are so important. Because they are some of our earliest core memories of even having access to a Godzilla game from the get-go, right?
Oh, just
because when I was a kid,
for me.
Yeah, like that was my first one too. Like I never was able, and then like as I grew older, like I started like getting like the older ones as well. But
Yeah.
like I'll never forget like when I think I both got them both around Christmas, and I just remember like binging those two games throughout
Oh yeah.
Christmas. So it was
Yeah.
great. So I do have one final question for you. One final
Okay.
question. So do you have any advice for Godzilla fans who may be new to the franchise?
Yeah. I would say if you're new to the franchise, one, don't be intimidated by anything in the community. One of the biggest things is that there are many different pockets of the Godzilla fan base. You have your Reddit people, you have your YouTube community, you have your Twitter community, like all kinds of different pockets of people. So really find the pocket that you fit the most. Are you the fan art audience? Are you the person that loves the artwork of stuff? Are you the collecting person? Are you like the person that loves to talk about the figures? Are you the movie analytic essay review types? Do you like digging into the movies? Are you the gaming people? Are you, people that are on Reddit or like this and that? Are you a YouTube content creator that likes to make Godzilla videos that are whatever? First find there's a niche in the niche, which is funny, but it's true. Like you can't be, something that I strive for in what I do on my channel is I do strive to kind of have my hands in all the different genres and pockets of Godzilla. But at the same time, I still have my own pockets of people that I like to kind of stick to. Like you'll never see me in a model collecting group. I'm not a model collector guy. I don't really do it. Like that's not me. You won't see me in the comic book collecting group. I'm not really a comic book reader guy, even though I just got the Monsterverse stuff. I'm going to read that, but we'll see how that goes. Maybe that'll change me. I don't know. So find your niche, find the people that you want to be that group with, and especially go to G-Fest. Like if you have the opportunity to go to G-Fest, go there and meet people that you can become friends with. Or if you're friends with people already that are online, then you meet them at G-Fest. You're going to it's going to become a whole new world and you're going to make so much more friends and it's just going to be awesome. The other thing is, again, with the don't be intimidated, don't let people gatekeep you and don't let elitist fans tell you what you can and cannot like. I cannot stand some people in this fan base that are so heavy on, well, you can't like this certain thing because this other thing was better than that. I've gotten into many arguments about people over the years in terms of like collecting, for instance. If you collect NECA, don't let anyone tell you, well, those are inferior figures to SH Monster Arts. Who cares? Buy what you like, and especially buy what you can afford. Those are words from Rich Iso, Mr. Fresh Vinyl. You do not let anyone tell you what you can and cannot buy. Like I have my issues with NECA. I have my issues with SH Monster Arts. I have my opinions. And the thing is, everyone has opinions. That's fine. But don't shove it down someone's throat and trying to be like this elitist gatekeeping fan that's like, well, this is what it is. It's like, no. And don't let people if you love Godzilla's Revenge, if that's like your favorite film, or even a more hot take, Louis Duran actually came out with it not too long ago saying that he loves 1998. Look, if 1998 is your favorite Godzilla film, do not let people come to you and say, well, you're not a real Godzilla fan. That is the other thing too. If someone says you're not a real Godzilla fan, joke's on them. They're not the Godzilla fan. Because they're someone who has some deep psychological problems going on, and they feel the need that they need to protect something that they really don't even know.
Projection.
Yes, that's the word. Yeah. That's the word I was thinking. If they're projecting that, something's on with them, not you. There was nothing wrong with liking 1998. In fact, to me, it's one of the most entertaining Godzilla films out there. Like I think
it's great.
I have no problem with 1998. I don't have any problems with Matthew Broderick. I don't have any problems with any of the characters in him. To me, it is a fun, entertaining film. Is it a great Godzilla film?
There's schools of thought. There's a lot of different. I've gone through the same thing, because I love the Mothra trilogy. I will go down with the ship and saying that I think the Mothra trilogy is artistically beautiful. It has some the best musical scores ever. But I have dealt with a lot of shit over the years, being like, "Oh, you like the Mothra trilogy? Whoa,"
which is weird. So, I didn't even know if there was a hatred for those films. I thought those were generally well received films.
Well, I think it's because of the audience angle. Like people are like detached because it's like aimed at a younger audience. But I'm just like,
No, no, yeah.
you like the Showa Gamera series, but you can't like the Mothra
Right,
trilogy. Like
right.
let's unpack that really quick. But
Yeah, yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
no, like I think that's absolute excellent advice. Like, don't ever let anyone kind of like diminish your spark because like that's significant, right?
yeah.
And it could potentially inform like how you engage with the characters and the
Yep.
films, like what you create as a result. Like the world needs to see what you create. So
I've said a fantastic thing that I came up with. I'm actually looking at my channel right now because I want to find this thing I said. But it's where anytime I criticize the MonsterVerse, because that's sort of like a thing for me right now, is I just have this, and some people are getting the wrong idea. They think I just flat out hate the MonsterVerse. It's like, no, I don't hate the MonsterVerse. I see the potential it has, and I want it to take that potential, but it just keeps on making these MCU like style blockbuster, turn your brain off, whatever. It's like,
yeah.
I feel like it needs more. But so what I have said to some people that have been giving me criticism about that stuff, again, a lot of people get very mean about like my opinion on it. But what I always say to some people, if you're making content, especially about Godzilla, when you say something that is different from someone else's other opinion and they get all butthurt about it or whatever, what I always say, I actually respond to the comments, but I don't respond to it in a defensive or attacking manner. I just respond to it and I say, I respectfully disagree, but thank you for watching. And that's all you got to say. And just walk away.
Right, like I do something. I'm just like, interesting perspective. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that.
that's perfect
Like
too. Interesting
something
perspective.
very disarming. It's so
Yeah.
like I love it. I love
Because
it.
they're ready to tussle. They're ready to be in the comment section and going like, I'm gonna be keyboard war. We're just gonna do it. And then you just say, oh, interesting. Okay, bye. Bye.
And that's kind of like the fiercest way to respond to someone too, because
Yeah,
it's
it
like
is.
giving them like it's like slapping them across the face with a glove, like
Yeah.
kind of thing. I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Chris, this has been such a fun conversation.
This
Like
has been
it's
awesome.
been
Oh, yeah.
wholesome. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Deep,
So,
philosophical. Yeah.
and all of my favorite
And then just
things.
nerding out. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Where can people find your stuff?
Okay, so for me, when it comes to the Godzilla stuff, it's GojiFan93 official. I only put the official part on it because there are now a couple more websites and things that are just using the name. So I tried to make it like where this is really me, because some people were kind of confused. They're like, with my, the coming back video, they were like, wait, are you the guy, or are you just some guy reposting the videos? Like, no, this is official. This is me. So GojiFan93 official for all the Godzilla stuff. I also have a Discord channel for my for the community. So that's a great way to interact with me as well. But those are the only two places in terms of the Godzilla stuff. Everywhere else, you can find me at CJCuypersproductions.com. That's like the big thing, or CJCuypers. I have like the YouTube channel, I have a Wattpad, Twitter, and I think I also have a Discord page for that as well. But if you just type in CJCuypers, you'll find me. Trust me, you will. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So,
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on, and you are
oh,
always welcome to come back in the future because,
of
well,
course.
I'm always up for a deep philosophical, nerdy conversation. So,
Well, see, now I got to have you on my channel for something. So that's just what we're gonna have to do.
oh my goodness! Like, okay, I would be honored to do that. Thank you.
So probably I am thinking, since Mothra, I'm sensing Mothra is your favorite character after this. I'm feeling like
Who
I'm,
is
I'm getting an
she?
idea.
Who?
Yeah, maybe we'll have to talk about the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy and have it be like a conversation, maybe, because I
Oh,
love those movies too. So
are you ready for
you
a
know,
dissertation on the Mothra trilogy? Because let me
I,
tell you.
I think the people might need it, especially if there is this certain look at the films as not good. So we'll have to prove them wrong.
We're gonna create some waves. We're gonna do it. Well, everyone, thank you as always for watching. Remember that Growing Up with Godzilla premieres on the first and third Sunday of each month at 4 p.m. usually. Um, and just for sheer nerd sake, because I need to hear it. Do you want to end this episode with your outro slogan that you have?
Oh, of course. I was waiting for that. All right. Well, first off, Donny, thank you so much for letting me on the channel. This was awesome. I am super excited to be on here. This was great. This is fantastic. I would love to be on another time in the future. Be awesome. So, but yeah, without further ado, that is it for us, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, stay big, G fans.